Hello, everybody. Welcome to Housing Bubble 2.0 News of the Week, or as I like to call it, how the second wave of the coronavirus is going to be affecting the housing market. We're starting to see cracks, everybody. Something is changing in the air. Stuff is happening. I've been waiting to see this for a long time here. So we're going to get into it right away now. First of all, welcome again to, my name is Randy Patrick, your host, and Housing Bubble 2.0, putting the realism back in real estate. And if you're not already a subscriber, if you could help my channel grow and subscribe, I would really appreciate that. First things first, trying to get back to people. I've been making a lot of phone calls. Today has been a banner day for stuff. When I mean stuff, it is conversations, acquisitions, inventory, things like that. So we got a lot on the go here, from single family to mobile home parks to multifamily, hotels, the whole bit. I got a number of sources I'm working with. So if it's something you want to discuss, send me an email and we'll get off to the races with that. Okay, let's talk about what's going on. So for me, I've used this picture before, and what I guess you could say, seeing right now are signs. Okay, that's how I'm going to call this. I'm going to call this that there are signs in the marketplace that show things are going to change. So for all the people who do not believe we're going to have a housing crisis, or who don't believe we're going to see price declines or have inventory or things like that, well, maybe you may take a pause and take a look at what we're going to talk about today. Today will be a longer video just because there's a lot of data to go through. I got about 30 slides, I believe, but it's all good, relevant data that was just recently published, something you're going to want to take a look at. Here's what I've been telling people. You know what? Go to the settings and do my videos on 1.5 speed, all right? 1.25 or 1.5 speed. Get you through faster, get you right to the information here, okay? But again, I see signs, stuff's happening in the marketplace. All right, so this is what came out the day. So the foreclosure threat grows as COVID-19 surges, the Fed says. So guess what? We actually had some discussion from the Federal Reserve Bank of Atlanta, basically saying that COVID-19 cases in Texas, Arizona, Florida, and other Sunbelt states have hit record highs this past week. So basically, we got a lot going on here. And essentially, the threat that forbearance will transition to, I guess you could say, foreclosures are increasing, all right? So the threat that forbearance will transition to foreclosures has regained power because the number of COVID-19 infections is increasing, and the CARES Act unemployment insurance benefits will expire at the end of July. Okay, so the Atlanta Fed economists in Thursday's report, the beefed up unemployment benefits have kept forbearance rates lower than some of the most pessimistic forecasts, which have been about 20 to 30%, the paper said. Instead, forbearance rate of 8.8% of all active mortgages in June's final week, Black Knight said in the Thursday report. So that's not too bad. So we're just under 10% of forbearances in the last week of June. Economists are worried about a new round of layoffs if the COVID-19 resurgence forces states to reverse the reopenings. And again, a lot of southern states are, we reopened. Now there's been some shutdowns again, or more constraints as to what you can do, what you can't do. A lot of bars are closed again, or not serving alcohol. So they're not serving alcohol. Why would you go? Restaurants are back to limiting, I guess you could say, seating and stuff like that. So things have changed. In my county, we're now directed to be wearing face masks at all times when we're in public, when we're not in a social distancing environment, or that's not applicable. So there you go. So basically, after the economy is still struggling, basically what they're saying, that foreclosures could rise and things aren't looking very good. So, but my point in talking about this is the fact that people are talking about this. So we're not going down the path of let's change the narrative, let's say everything is awesome and things are great and stuff's not going to change, it's not going to affect us, because it is going to affect us. Now we're seeing, guess what? This is a group, the Atlanta Fed, basically saying there's going to be problems here, and read between the lines, folks, is that we can't get this under control. There's no V-shaped recovery here. We're going to see a W or a long L-shaped recovery. Housing will be involved in this, and it will be impacted, and stuff will change. So this is really putting us on notice here. And again, this is actually, if you want to go click on it, this is the Federal Reserve Bank of Atlanta actually has an update that they're produced here. So what's so interesting is when you actually take a look at it, they call it the forbearance take-up rate. And what that really is the fact that, in March, estimates of the fraction of households that would use forbearance in the coming months varied widely. All right. On one hand, optimists believe that the forbearance would be fairly low take-ups because the CARES Act called for a generous, increased unemployment insurance benefits and should provide many unemployed households with enough income to continue to make payments. For example, FHFA Director Mark Calabria estimated only about 2 million GSE borrowers, a take-up rate of less than 5%, would seek forbearance. On the other hand, you got the more pessimistic side of the group, believe numbers would be significantly higher. So Laurie Goodman of the Urban Institute predicted close to 12 million borrowers would request forbearance, and Mark Zandi of Moody's Analytics predicted that about 15 million households, or roughly 30% of mortgage borrowers, would miss payments. So you kind of got low end, high end. Well, guess what? In the end, overall, the actual take-up rates are squarely right in the middle between the optimistic and pessimistic forecasts. So, it could swing either way, I guess you could say here. But, looking ahead, the forbearance take-up rates remain elevated, but recently they've been flat or fallen. The pattern is consistent with what we've seen in labor markets. The rate of new unemployment claims has been fallen, while the number of unemployed continues to be elevated. So the generous increase in unemployment insurance benefits certainly has helped take-up rates be lower than the pessimistic forecast, but the threat that forbearance will transition to foreclosure has regained power because of the number of COVID-19 infections is increasing, and the CARES Act unemployment insurance benefits will expire at the end of July. So at the end of this month, things could change, folks. Things could change big time, and that could increase more forbearance and more non-payments. All right, here's something came out with Adam Data Solutions. Home prices show first signs of stalling amid pandemic in some areas of the nation. And again, this is the headline, but I want to delve into it. You can take a look at this from Adam Data Solutions. It basically boils down to their sales figures for April to May was what they were focusing on. What they basically said was new sales figures from Adam Data Solutions show that median home prices from April to May in 17 states, as well as in half the metropolitan areas with enough transactions to analyze. This analysis included 42 states with at least 250 sales and 160 metro areas with at least 100 sales. Major metro areas buffeted by monthly price drops in May range far and wide, from Charlotte, North Carolina, where the median value dropped 10%, to Detroit, Michigan, where it dipped 7%, to Billings, Montana, where it decreased 7%, to Honolulu, which saw a 3% decline. So the downward shift marked a striking change from price jumps earlier in 2020 and from patterns commonly seen during the spring home buying season from year to year. So yeah, the COVID-19 virus has made a big impact on what's going on here. And but again, the point is, it's not all rose-colored glasses, people. I mean, this is exactly what's going on. We're going to see some effects. A lot of people were saying we're going to see some effects, next year, etc. Well, sure, we're going to see next year, but right now we're seeing effects that are happening virtually immediately. So we see, less homes for sale. We see less homes being sold. We're seeing pricing plateau or even drop in this case on the median side. So things are starting to sort of crack a little bit in the housing front. For example, here's just some changes here. So for whatever reason, the largest metro areas, median home prices, well, New York City actually had a bump up. Los Angeles lost, Chicago lost, Dallas a slight uptick, Houston lost, Washington lost, Miami lost, Philadelphia lost big time. Okay, Atlanta down a little bit, and Boston. So this is just a quick snapshot, but it's funny how certain properties can change value. Certain locations can have ups and downs based on what's going on in the local community. So, but just when you take a look at this, the majority of this list here, and again, it's only a handful, like 10 locations, but at least people were either virtually stagnant or actually saw median home price decreases. All but one on the list really. Everybody else was lost. New York City had an increase, and but that's New York City as a whole. We know that some of the recent news reports that the Manhattan area, Manhattan apartment sales taking a major beating. Okay, high-end luxury homes in New York City taking a major price beating as well too, and just lack of sales because people are just, again, in that location, they're leaving, they're going out to the burbs. So this is how things can change really quick in what we're doing right now in real estate. Okay, something else that I saw, which I thought was interesting. Again, this is from CoreLogic. U.S. home price insights. So through May 2020 with forecasts from June 2020 to May 2021. I thought, okay, this is interesting. Let's see what CoreLogic is going to forecast here. Now, CoreLogic is a big data company, and they're involved in a lot of real estate data products from various different aspects. A lot of it is valuation. All right, so that's why I do like to see what they have to say. I do think that they're always a bit conservative with respect to what's happening in the marketplace. And again, that's their position on things. So this is why I find this interesting. So basically, the May 2020 home prices. So May 2020 had a year over year increase of 4.8%, but the forecast from a national basis is interesting. Is a very small 0.1% decrease from May to June on the national forecast, but a negative 6.6, like a 6.6% decrease on a year over year basis. So this is interesting. So what we've seen earlier from Zillow's and the Redfins and the other groups like that. I mean, you can't quote me, but I know Zillow, for example, and even from NAR, National Association of Realtors. I mean, people are saying we'll see probably modest like 1 to 2, 3% increases this year. Still on the positive side, for the annual. And look, now we've got a group here that's saying, oh no, we look at a year over year of a negative, and it's not 1 or 2%. It's actually 6.6%. So I think that this is highly interesting, and it shows that people who are looking at this data, and the reason why, like, they're looking at a ton of data here, and they're predicting, well, we see this now. This is not even with all the foreclosures and stuff that are going to happen. So this is sort of what they see today, where they see trends going down. So for me, 6.6% is actually a large number from a CoreLogic, for example. It's not the 20% you guys want to see out there or more, but the point is, it's a start, it's early on, and people are talking about it. Last housing crisis, people were denying the housing crisis even existed until it was smack dab in front of your face. Now we have technology, we have social media, we have the much more information about the internet, a lot of stuff going on in real time. We're better than 10, 12 years ago with our data collection and our analysis and our availability and accessibility to it. So this is why this to me is interesting. It's yet another sign that a reputable group is saying we see a decline. We don't see 10% increases. Hooray, hooray. We actually see something changing in the marketplace. So that's why, for me, this is a material sign about our real estate market. Okay, guys. Pending sales and home purchase loan applications are higher than in June of the last year and reflect the buying activity of millennials. By the end of the summer, buying will slacken, and we expect home prices will show declines in metro areas that have been especially hard hit by the recession. Right from CoreLogic, guys. Okay, COVID impact on home prices, so strong home purchase demand for the first quarter with tightening supply, etc. I mean, you can look at it here, 6.6% as well, too. So, again, unemployment rates, basically has exasperated where they see this going, and this can get a lot worse on a going forward basis. So there you go. All right, markets at risk of home price decline. So they have almost like their own index, and they rank markets. So really, with national home prices remaining steady, the pandemic has created a volatile landscape for local housing markets. For example, single-family home prices in Philadelphia experienced an annual gain of 7.7% in May, compared to San Francisco's 1.1%. Okay, so basically that they're saying that the CoreLogic market risk indicator, a monthly update of the overall health of the housing market of the country, predicts that the following metro areas are the greatest risks, above 60% probability of a decline in home prices over the next 12 months. So again, they're not telling you how much, but they're saying the probabilities of decline is greater than 75% for Prescott, Arizona, Lake Havasu City, Kingman, Arizona, Naples, Immokalee, Marco Island, that's Southwest Florida, Crestview, Fort Walton Beach, Destin, Florida, that's on the Panhandle, and Daphne, Fairhope, Foley, Alabama. I'm thinking that could be part of that area as well, too, up there. But again, so just showing this right now is that you're going to have markets that have, based on CoreLogic's indication, scoring methodology, however they want to calculate it, that they see home price declines. So if the average across the board is 6.6%, certainly some of these locations will probably see a double-digit decline as time goes on. But again, my point here is just to illustrate the fact that we are talking about this now, and that maybe there's some hope coming for the future if you wanted to understand where the markets are headed. Okay, market condition maps. Now, I can't bring this up any larger, basically, but obviously the red is overvalued, the lighter green is undervalued, and we'll call it the gray is kind of normal. So we can see the concentration of red. A lot of it in Florida, a lot of it in Texas, a lot of it on the coastal locations, some of the North Carolina locations. Clearly, Arizona and Vegas. I'm going to look at some Colorado there, some Utah, and of course some of the areas in the upper Northwest. I do find, surprisingly enough, you got the red in California by the Bay Area, but I don't see areas like San Diego or LA being overvalued, which is interesting. Again, who knows how they're making their calculations, but this is what CoreLogic is saying right now about the overvalued locations. Now, coupled again with the HPI forecast, the CoreLogic continues to show the disparity of home prices across the metros. In overvalued markets like Las Vegas, where the local tourism economy has also took a hit due to COVID-19, home prices are expected to decline by 20% by May of next year. Woo! So this, and again, I don't want to be the town crier here, but when I see actual, stuff being stated like this, like they're saying 20% in Vegas. Okay, to me, that's hope. All right, that goes, okay, Vegas might be a good opportunity to purchase in the future, and that's expectations. Now, what we don't have access to is where everything is going in the future. So I don't know what the cost profile is to get this report. I'm going to look at it myself and see if it makes sense to purchase. But again, realize that this stuff is not $50. It's usually hundreds or thousands of dollars to buy this. And this is on a monthly basis as well, too. So you buy it once, then you got to get updates and stuff. So again, just realize that this is not inexpensive. But the point, though, is that, again, somebody's come out and said, we think Vegas is going to drop 20% next year. Okay, so again, if we normalize where we're at here, 6.6% across the board, you're going to have 20s, 25s, 30s in some locations. You're going to have zeros and ones and twos in other locations. So I think this is the balancing act. It's going to average out to what they say is 6.6%. I think it'll be more than that. But again, Vegas 20% loss, San Diego 1.3% loss. You see, so just shows the disparity of where things are on a local market basis. But still, to me, they said it, and that's what's important. All right, market condition indicators, just so we wanted to recap here. The New York, New Jersey, White Plains, overvalued. Chicago, Naperville, Arlington Heights, normal. Los Angeles, Long Beach, Glendale, normal. With Chicago, I mean, if it's normal, it's because it's been losing for the past few years. LA, I would say LA being normal. I'm surprised it's not overvalued. Houston overvalued. Atlanta overvalued. Phoenix overvalued. Washington area overvalued. Dallas overvalued. Riverside, San Bernardino, normal. Minneapolis, St. Paul, normal. I don't really get into this too much, but this is back in they're looking at what the May numbers. Different locations may find themselves on this list as time goes on based on what's happening in the individual cities. We'll leave that at that. All right, but just that's going to have some play for sure in the future. All right, just so you know, this is what CoreLogic's involved with: underwriting, valuation solutions, market and prospect intelligence, risk management and monitoring for the mortgage, insurance, government, real estate, property, rental. So my point, though, is that it's a reputable source of data, and they got a lot of data and they spend a lot of money on data. Okay, and they supply it to a lot of people. For example, my MLS system here, CoreLogic supplies the automated value sort of mechanism, and it gives me a value range of every property I type in based on what it pulls from data that it has. So that's to me, so I know that they do a lot of this. So to me, it's just, again, legitimate, and it's something worth looking at here. Okay, now we'll go on to the whole mortgage delinquency forbearance stuff here. So Black Knight's first look at May 2020 mortgage data. This is important. I know we're almost at about 20 minutes here, but this is important data to show where things are at. All right, so stick with me here, guys. Black Knight's first look at May 2020. The mortgage delinquencies increased by another 20% in May to hit the highest level since 2001. But June payment data suggests rise may be cresting. Okay, well, that's where we are with June. Let's get into it right now. All right. Again, change in delinquency rates. So obviously, after a 90% spike in April, May's rise pushed the national delinquency rate to highest level it's been in, I can't read that, 8.5 years. Okay, so delinquency rate's higher. Non-current inventory, there are now 4.3 million homeowners past due in their mortgages. Change in foreclosure rate. The foreclosure rate is dropping. The reason why that is dropping, everybody, is because there really is no foreclosures being filed with the moratoriums and things like that. So court cases are slowed down, if not stagnant, and nobody is actually refiling or filing new stuff because there's no point, because it's going to sit there anyway because you can't foreclose. So based on the moratorium. So that's why when we see our foreclosure rate decreasing, it's because since the middle of March, April, May, and now June and part of July, now nothing's happening. Okay, so that's why the stats are where they are. Okay, national delinquency rate. So you can see how the exponential, and this is again back to May. I know we're higher than this right now, but this is what they're talking about for the delinquency rate. Again, it's forbearance is a little more real time on the weekly basis. This is monthly, so we're looking at May 2020 here. But the delinquency rate, you could see it just shot up. Okay, so if we go to the peak, which was about 10 and change, this is back in 2010, in May 2010 or April and May, sort of the height of the last housing crisis. It was 10%, and you can see how that mountain grew, peaks and valleys to get up there. Look what happened here. So we're at 7. We're almost at 8%. We know we're actually almost just under 9% now if you want to take current data. But for this purpose, look at the exponential bang. It went straight up. Okay, so that's why when people say, "Oh, it's not like the last housing crisis," hey, we're almost there. Okay, we're almost there, and this is a month, in drag time here, guys. So again, we're up there. All right. You can just see the national delinquency rate, same thing. It's across the board of overall delinquencies on all. Bang, it just pops up with such a short period of time here. Okay, changes in delinquency rates. So clearly the blue is above the national average, green below the national average. So we can see the blue are the hot spots. Funny enough, lots of California, lots of Texas. We got Florida for sure, Mississippi. We got some of the eastern seaboard stuff. So that's so we're the darker colors are above the national average. So if you want to see how things play out across the country, 10 markets with the largest delinquency rate increases: Miami, Vegas, Orlando, New York, Newark area, New Orleans, Louisiana, Atlanta, Houston, Riverside, California, Dallas, Texas, Tampa, Florida. Okay. You know what? When you look at it's like the last housing crisis. You have the Sun Belt, okay, which basically is the top 4 Sun Belts, where Arizona, Nevada, California, and Florida. So now we're adding a few more in there. You got Texas in there, and you've got Louisiana. Louisiana has had delinquency problems for years now. But you can take a look at Miami, Orlando, and Tampa. So basically 3 are top 10. Vegas, so again, we can see that that's this should not surprise anybody with these locations. So now to offset that, we have the smallest delinquency increases: Ohio, Missouri, Seattle, Washington, Richmond, Virginia, Indianapolis, St. Louis, Missouri, Louisville, Milwaukee, San Jose, Cincinnati. So you got a lot of the Midwest there, and then you got some higher price West Coast, Seattle and San Jose, where there's they're very expensive locations. All right. Now those higher locations will probably have increases going forward, but it's interesting to see some of the delinquencies over a month-to-month basis where things are at. Again, we're seeing, first of all, we're actually seeing the increase, all right, which is interesting as opposed to no increases. So we're seeing increases, but again, this is your lower 50 as opposed to your top 10, all right? So your lower 10, all right? After the forbearance plans, we can see that certain lending, you've got the total where we're at, over $4.5 million. You can see, where we're at as far as Fannie, Freddie, FHA, and others, which is straightforward. Loans in forbearance, about just under 4.7 million loans in forbearance. You can see the distribution: Fannie, Freddie, VA, FHA, and VA, and other being non-government backed type loans. All right. Net change in active forbearance count by week. So the forbearance is growing, like still adding to the total. And we actually had a couple of weeks there. You can see where we actually had a reverse, like people got out of forbearance, which is interesting. All right, but now this last week they've calculated. Now we're back up. We went from the negative to the positive, adding more people into forbearance. So it kind of wipes out what we have gained or lost in the last bit. Pre-COVID delinquencies, post-COVID delinquencies. So yes, there were delinquencies that were there before the COVID virus. So we had about 1.3 million delinquencies. That's people in the foreclosure process, not paying their mortgage. Post-COVID, obviously a lot more. All right, so there you go. You can just see the addition of what's happened after the virus hit us. Payment status of loans and active forbearance. You can see current June payment received, which is kind of funny because I don't really understand this yet. I'm wondering if you're in forbearance, why are you making a payment? Well, I guess you could as an insurance policy get the forbearance plan, but so you're signed up for it if you need it, but you're still making payments if you can, which I suppose is prudent on people. But you got your current June payment received, current June payment outstanding, 30 days past due, 60 days past due, 90 days past due, and active in foreclosure. So you can see the 60 days are growing, and 90 days will grow as well too as time goes on. All right, because again, people are pretty much starting their forbearance in April, so April, May, in June. So now you can see 60, 90 days is just starting to hit now for people. All right, scheduled forbearance expiration. So with the forbearance plan, when you called in or went to the website for your lender or servicing company, the assumption I have is that you picked a plan. Like, in other words, I want a 3-month, a 6-month, a 12-month, or 3-month. We'll see what happens. So this is forbearance expectation. So people who look, there's over 50% of the plans are expiring in June, or so basically in June, so would have expired, and we don't know whether they re-up the forbearance plan or whether it wasn't offered to them or something changed or they're going through loan modification. So we don't know. So as time goes on, we're going to see whether these plans re-up with more additional time in forbearance, or whether they fall out of forbearance or do loan mods or whatever. So again, this is why we're probably going to see some inventory hitting the marketplace now based on what's happening with people's personal life, business, economy, unemployment, things like that. Okay, so this is all to be determined. So we're very early on here, but I guess the first wave of 3-month forbearances are actually, in June did expire. So we'll see what's going to happen the next little while, whether they re-upped or not. Okay, distribution of forbearances by length. So obviously you can see people took 1 month, 2 month. The majority of people took 3-month forbearances, 4-month, 5-month, or greater than 5 months. So I typically, I thought they were always going to be in 3, 6, 12-month increments, but it looks like, people, if they needed just a 1-month deal to get them through and they got unemployment or whatever, they did. So good for them. So, but again, just you can see where the sort of sweet spot is with people asking for about 3-month forbearances, probably revisiting that as it expires. All right, what do we got here? The next slide. Hang on a sec. Next slide. Equity withdrawn via cash out refinance. So what people are also saying is the fact that, okay, we got, maybe you could do a cash out refi to pay some of the forbearance, what you owe, etc. This is just a quick chart that shows, if you go all the way back to like housing crisis on the left here, where you could see, lots of money was taken out in cash out refis. Less money is coming out in cash out refis. I do think because also a little tighter lending guidelines as well too. So, but just wanted to show you where we're basically 50%, roughly half of what was taken out last time round on cash out refis is happening right now in the marketplace. So, and again, cash out refis did hurt and cause a lot of the housing crisis back the last time around. This is a tough chart to see, and I'll go over it right now. But the point that was at, where delinquencies are just under 8% as of May. We know that at least a full point greater than that as we are right now. Monthly changes, over 20%. Year-to-date changes, 141%. Okay. Foreclosures are down. Foreclosure starts are down because guess what? They're not moving because of the moratoriums and holds on evictions and stuff like that. So, don't read into that saying, everything's great, because this will be massive once the moratoriums are lifted. The systems will be swamped with resets of foreclosure sale dates and foreclosure cases and filings and new sale dates coming up once the moratoriums are lifted. Right. So please be aware of that. But again, one thing though is the serious delinquency number is increasing, and that is something we need to watch out for. All right, one of the final slides here, guys. Just here, this one just shows where we're at as far as numbers are concerned. So the total active count, you can see each month now towards the bottom that, you've got active counts. The 30 days were big. Like, for example, April's 30-day was 2.5 million. Now it's 1.7 million. Why? Because some of the 30 days became 60 days. And so each column will grow sort of staggered based on time frame as to what's going on with respect to volume, etc. But again, the longer it goes, more people shift from 30 days to 60 to 90 to longer time frames to eventually foreclosure filing. All right. This is interesting. State ranking by non-current loan population. So interesting, and I wanted to review this a bit here, so I'm going to talk about it. So I know it's tough to see, but if you take a look at the left-hand side, there's three. It's basically from top to from column top to bottom, column from left to right. Okay. So the number one, you've got your national green bar. Below that is the first state is state of Mississippi. When you take a look at Mississippi, it's non-current about 12.7%. So the non-current loan base is 12.7% in Mississippi. And so they're ranking by non-current. And it's Mississippi, Louisiana, New York, New Jersey, Florida, Hawaii, Nevada. Just work your way down. It shows you the non-current loans in each state. So again, some of it, makes sense. Like Mississippi, historically has always had, since the last housing crisis, a lot of, underwater homes, with figuratively and literally, so, and Louisiana as well too, just because it's been very economically depressed there. So they're always up there with respect to non-current loans. And then of course with some of the COVID and everything, some of these other states are increasing with their non-currents. But what I want to point out though is that, so we can go from 12.7% from the top left down to the bottom right, which is Idaho, which is 4.4%. All right. So again, you can take a look at, top to bottom 50 states there. There's a big difference. But the whole point, though, is that you can see that the non-currents are increasing. It's not 0.5% or 2%. It's at 4.4 for the lowest, we'll call it state in the 50 states ranking. So it's starting to grow here. What I would look at, though, is the year-to-year change in the non-current. So, like, for example, Mississippi doesn't have a big year-to-year change because a lot of it was non-current to begin with, all right? But when you start looking at some of these other states, look at the states that have over 100% changes in year-to-year in the non-current loan base, all right? New York's up 120%. New Jersey, almost 150%. Florida, over 150%. Nevada, 255%. Connecticut, over 100%. AK, that's got to be Alaska, 211%. Georgia, over 100%. Texas, 116. Illinois, 105. Virginia, 111. California, 219. So even though they're non-currents, only they're like middle of the road, but they're growing exponentially here. Okay, Washington, 135%. Arizona, 142%. Utah, 150. Minnesota, 130. Colorado, 216. Okay, Oregon, 168. Washington, 147. Idaho, 118. So even the people on the bottom right, the lower side that have the better overall loan-based performance are having larger, year-over-year increases in where that's at. So that's, we'll just keep an eye on this. So again, when I look at some of this information, I mean, listen, there's not, a lot of it is, and there's a lot of it just under 100%, a lot of it in the, over 50%. So, everything is increasing here. There's not many that are under 50%, recall, non-current year-over-year increases. So, but the point though is that we got a lot that's going up in, triple digits here, 100+%, 200+%. So to me, the trend is here. We can see the trends. Stuff is going to happen. So again, the summary today is the fact that now we're seeing real signs of the housing market coming into some distress here. We're going to have, again, some of the markets are going to have what we call before the dead cat bounce. Things are going to be okay for a bit. For example, where I am in the Tampa, Florida area, we have record low inventory. We're 1.9 months worth of inventory, which is ridiculous. It's like there's nothing on the marketplace. You put something on, it's going to sell. All right. So in locations that have things like that going on, stuff's going to move. So in the short term, it still may show increase in values. It still may show robust or hot market potentially, but overall, when it expands out a few more months down the road, things are going to start to change, right? Because if you take a look at some of the info, we were one of the Tampa was the number 10, for increase in delinquencies. Okay, so even though we're a tight market and stuff's moving and it's higher price, we're growing on the other end too. So we're getting at both ends. So just an example of how the markets, there's a dichotomy in many markets which don't seem to make sense. Thus, the opportunities there, people. Okay, but again, I want to share that with you. You go to Black Knight Financial, Google them, and you can pull this, and you can look at it directly yourself. I'll put this in the information link so that you can pull it up yourself if you want. But my point is, multiple sources now. Atlanta Fed saying, watch out. Adam Data Solutions saying, hey, we're seeing median prices drop here. Okay, we've got basically information. Now, CoreLogic going, we see decreases, and Black Knight going, look, they're not talking about property value decrease, but they're saying, look at the COVID stuff going on here, and look at the foreclosures and delinquencies increasing exponentially in a lot of locations. So for me, the stage is being set for what's going to happen in the future. It's up to you to figure out how you want to participate in it. Whether you want to look for your primary, look for investment, just look for any opportunities and engage yourself. So again, keep that in mind, everybody. I think this is a very interesting time right now because we're seeing literally the cracks in the housing market. And if you want to look forward, it's only going to get worse as far as I'm concerned here. So having said that, I want to thank everybody for their views, likes, and comments. Please reach out to me. There's my email. Send me an email. Tell me what you need, what you want to do, what's going on. Give me your phone number so I can connect with you. I'll be making lots of phone calls this week. But also, too, as I mentioned, we just hit things are happening on our end here. So if you're looking, especially from the investment side here, a lot of multifamily going on. That's popped up big time the past week or so. For whatever reason, got 3 or 4 mobile home parks that came across my desk. Again, sourcing with other sources to get access to more deals on the single family side as well too. So a lot of things happening. It's going on out there. So please, get educated, get informed, drop me in line. We'll see if we can help you. So again, thank you very much. And we'll look forward to speaking with you later on in the week.